So today I wanted to do a review for the Joie de Vivre Tarot by Paulina Cassidy. This is the box that it comes in. I had originally purchased her Paulina Tarot, which I will be doing a review for hopefully today as well. And that was why I ended up purchasing the Joie de Vivre Tarot. This is what the Paulina Tarot deck looks like. I loved the Paulina Tarot deck, and I really loved the artwork, and I just thought it was whimsical, but it still took tarot seriously as far as that it is a valuable tool. But I ended up kind of purchasing this deck on a whim because I didn't really, it wasn't really in my budget, but the joy and beauty of working where I work, my boss is amazing, and she very lovingly allows me to order the tarot decks. And so I was able to order this for myself to try and see if we wanted to carry it in the store. And we do have it in the store. We ended up buying 2 decks of this. And I really love this deck. And the funny thing is that I actually use this deck more than the Paulina deck. And when I first opened up this box, oops, that's the back. This box, I was a little crestfallen because in the Paulina tarot deck, there's so much in the artwork. I mean, almost you could even argue more than in the Shadowscapes tarot. Let me just show you what I mean. It's very, this is the Paulina tarot we're talking about. Like, it's very detailed, and there's so much like little depictions within the larger picture. And in the Joie de Vivre deck, she's kind of pared it down a little bit. And yet now, having used the Joie de Vivre deck for quite a few months, I think you could argue that this is more of a mature deck, and it is in some ways even maybe a little bit easier to communicate with because there isn't so much with the layers and the layers. And oftentimes I do love the layers, and I still use the Paulina deck, and I still get very accurate, spot-on readings with that deck. But this deck just has something about it that is really special. So the first thing that you notice is that it's a little case, so you know you're only going to get a little white book, which makes me kind of sad. But this white book is actually more detailed than the one that accompanied the Paulina deck, and she tells a story through every card with this little white book. So it's actually a really great little white book. The cards look like this on the back, and they're really, really shiny, and so they tend to slip around, which is a negative that I do have for the deck. I think they're too slippery. I prefer the Paulina deck where they're not as shiny and they don't slip around as much, but they're not difficult to use. They still have a bit of a shine to them, but these are like super, you can see they're super shiny. The cardstock is thin. Not the best, but I mean, it's average. It's what you expect when you get a tarot deck. So they do use reversals, and she does have the reversals in the deck, the meanings for the reversals in the little white book. Let me show you, let me just compare for you what the 4 of Wands looks like in the Paulina deck. It looks like this, as opposed to in the Joie de Vivre deck. So you can see that you're getting a different deck. It's not the same deck. It's not just like a knockoff representation. They're completely different pictures. Different stories are told. But you can see how it's just a little easier. It's a little lighter to pull a meaning from or an intuition from. And it also depends on your mood. I think the Joie de Vivre deck is even more whimsical than the Paulina deck. So that's the 4 of Wands. And then let me compare the moon for you. This is the moon in the Paulina deck. And this is the moon in the Joie de Vivre deck. So both very beautiful. Oops, this is the Paulina deck. You can see that the cards are about the same size. The Paulina deck is slightly, ever so much larger than the Joie de Vivre deck. And let me show you some of my favorite cards in the Joie de Vivre deck. This is the Ace of Cups, the Nine of Cups, the Queen of Cups. I really liked a lot of the cup cards in this deck, and I don't normally find that because I'm pretty picky about the cup suit and what I think they look like. This is the Empress, and I just love her so much. She's just so cool. This is the Hermit, and to me, the Hermit feels a little more feminine than we traditionally see that solitary masculine figure. To me, the Hermit in this deck feels feminine as well. I love her depiction of the Five of Coins. I think you really get that feeling that the Five of Coins is supposed to give you, but you're not stuck in that church-like atmosphere. Like you get that feeling of being on the outside and alone. I love the Two of Swords in this deck. Love, love, love it. Here's the High Priestess. I love her depictions of the High Priestess though. And I really hope she comes out with another deck. I mean, I just love both of these decks. Here's the Two of Cups. Again, more cups. Anytime there's owls, I'm happy. Just like with the Five of Coins, I love her depiction of the Ten of Swords. I think it puts a positive spin on a traditionally seen as negative card. She shows you that you do have the tools to come out of this space of defeat and loss. It's about realizing that you have them. Two of Wands, so cute. Four of Coins, and Nine of Coins is another one that I loved. As well as, I do really love her depiction of the moon in this deck. So those were just some of my favorite depictions of the tarot cards in this deck. It's very easy to read with. I rarely need to use the book. I find that I get the answers very clearly. And I would say that at this point, I'm using this deck more than I use my two standby decks, which would be the Tarot of the Vampires and the Shadowscapes Tarot. I'm actually using this deck more than I use the Shadowscapes Tarot right now. And I'm finding that this deck likes to show up for readings a lot as well for others. And it's a very vocal deck. I think there are lots of creatures in it, and they have lots of things to say if you can get quiet enough to listen to them. So I definitely recommend this deck. If you have a difficulty with the Shadowscapes Tarot, you might find that Paulina's artwork is a little difficult to interpret based on the card size, because the card size is the same as the Shadowscapes Tarot. However, if you're just branching into Paulina's decks, the Joie de Vivre deck, the cards are more, I don't want to use simplified in a negative way, simplified in a positive way for reading and depicting what's actually happening than the Paulina deck. As I said in the Shadowscapes Tarot deck review, I love the Shadowscapes deck. I don't feel that I need it to be larger in order for me to read from it. And I also love the Paulina deck, and I don't find all of the work that's going on in the artwork to be too much for me. But if you do have a problem with the Shadowscapes, you might just want to know that about the Paulina deck and the Joie de Vivre deck. You're definitely not getting the same deck as the Paulina deck. It's a beautiful deck. I really love it, and I highly recommend it if you enjoy whimsical artwork. And a tarot deck that you can consider a knockoff of the Rider-Waite-Smith system, but is interpreted personally by the artist. And she really spends a lot of time with the energy of each of the cards. You can tell that. So I really loved this deck, and I would love to know what you think. Let me know, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.